Hello, wonderful people. I am going to do something a little different today. I've just have been wanting to play with my inks lately. And so I actually made a trip to Dollar Tree and bought a few things. And I did yesterday, just messing around. This is just a little wax warmer that I painted. This cost $1 from Dollar Tree. So I decided I wanted to try something else and show you all this time in case you wanted to try to do something similar. I had seen some Tumblr tutorials where people got this watercolor look with their inks. So that's what I decided to try to do on this $1 vase from Dollar Tree, which if you're in the U.S., you probably know exactly what Dollar Tree is. For those of you out of the U.S., it's a store where nothing in it costs over $1. So it's a fantastic place to just pick up simple things that you want to, play around with, try and decorate, make them look a whole lot better. Now, this was just clear glass. I did put a coat of Rustoleum. I used semi-gloss paint because that's what I had. Most people that do this, or all the ones that I've seen, they recommend using flat or matte paint, but I didn't have any. So this is what I'm using because that's what I had. All right, I am going to do Stream, Cobalt, and Vineyard in the Ranger inks. And we'll see how this goes. That little wax tart warmer was the first thing I had ever tried to do. And it was really hard because it's very awkwardly shaped. It wasn't hard to do. It was very time consuming. And it was a little tricky for me because the inks would just, you just didn't know where they were going to go because of the different shapes in there. So I've got just paper towels to blot my brushes. I got like 3 different sizes of brushes here because I, wasn't sure what I was going to want to do. So, or I don't know, like what size brushes I would end up needing. So I set 3 out. This is 99% isopropyl. Different people seem to use different percentages, but that's what I have. So that's what I'm using. These are my big wad of paper towels that I had left from last night. So they're kind of a mess. All right. So we may kind of be learning together. I used this when I was spray painting. So once I'm done with this, I'll probably just set it back on there to dry good. Even though you know how quickly alcohol inks dry. And then at some point I will seal it with probably Camar and UV protectant like I usually do. I may end up just mixing up a tiny bit of resin, just using a paintbrush and painting a very thin coat of resin over top of it. I don't know yet. Don't know about that. That's way down the road. Let's worry about what it's going to look like first. See what we come up with. I'm going to turn that around so that I'm not drying my brush right in those, although it doesn't really matter because I am going to want some blends here and there. So, all right. Let me go ahead and get that brush a little wet. And this brush is absolutely horrible. I'm sorry. It sheds constantly. It was just in a pack of like cheap craft paintbrushes that I picked up somewhere, and I know why they were so cheap now. All right. So, I'm sorry. I feel very like awkward with this still because that one's the first thing that I did. So I'm going to try not to make this take too long. So I'm just going to put that one spot down. All right. And then we're going to just kind of, yep, see, that's what I was afraid of. I should have gotten some off of there. We're just going to kind of spread it around here. I'm trying to sort of dab it. Like there, I've already got a dang bristle in it. It's not going to come out. Oh my gosh. Well, this may be a video of nothing but me just trying to get bristles out of the ink. All right, so once I get that one little drop down, and there's another bristle, you've got to be kidding me. Anyway, I'm just dabbing it with the alcohol because I want to thin it out. I don't want it to go all the way around in a circle. I do want to thin it out. And I do want to throw this brush away. But at the moment, good grief, I am about ready to scream over. Now I have two. You've got to be kidding me. And I can't find my little, oh, there it is. See if that little thing can get them up. Oh, yeah, great. So I am now scraping off the spray paint. All right, so this is not going to go anywhere fast. Good heavens. Don't use something sharp on your glass when you do this, just so you know. For those of you who are like me and just, you know, don't think when you're doing stuff, because that's something I really should have known. And I have scrubbed this brush out, and it's still, I see another one getting ready to come out. I have scrubbed, I have pulled, done everything I can to get the loose bristles out of it, and apparently you just can't. They just stay loose. And I'm going to go ahead with this, even though I've got that lovely little scratch in it now. I'm still going to go on and paint on it. Since I have it out here and ready, might as well. All right, so I wanted for this to be very, you know, soft and watercolor looking. But, you know, I don't know how it'll end up since it's me doing it, and I don't know what I'm doing. I was hoping to have it get a little bit softer looking than the wax warmer that I did. It ended up, the colors just ended up a little darker on it than what I really kind of wanted. So, I decided to try to get this one a little bit on the softer side. Which, you know, hopefully I won't end up with it so soft that you can't see the colors, but we'll see. Who knows how it'll turn out. All right, so that was Stream. This right here is Cobalt. I probably ought to go ahead and do the Stream on around here and there, but I don't actually, yeah, let me do another. Yeah, I'm going to do one more little bit of Stream right here. And that's probably going to be way too much. That little, look at that, more bristles coming loose. And they do it at the worst possible time. Right when I need my brush because things are going to run. The only other brush that I have that I think would be big enough for this is like way too big. It's a 1-inch brush, which is just bigger than I wanted. So I kind of want, you know, that one little bit of an edge on it where the alcohol pushes that ink back, you know, and leaves you that little bit of an edge. So that's sort of what I'm trying to do. When you put this down, I mean, you've probably noticed some on just your alcohol ink paintings that, you know, when you put down the alcohol on top of ink, it will push your ink out. and sort of leave you a fairly bare spot. Well, that's the whole idea here, is going back in with alcohol, and it will push the ink out to the edges, and then, you know, if you let that dry, then you've got that soft, not soft, hard, that hard line right there. And you can make this as organic or as fixed as you want it to be, too. I saw some where, you know, the people just basically let the ink pretty much just roll around the whatever it was always tumblers. I haven't seen one with anybody doing it on something like this, but I don't see any reason why you couldn't. I mean, you just treat it the same way that you would a tumbler, so I figured, why not give it a try? And yeah, for those of you in the U.S. who are wanting to kind of play with your inks and do some just whatever, messing around, see what you can do with them, I tell you, Dollar Tree is a fantastic place to go. You can find all kinds of little goodies there that you can paint on. A lot of it, you know, might have to be primed with something like this, or the Kills 2 or 3. But I mean, whatever you're getting, it's going to cost you $1. So, super cheap kind of stuff to paint. And like I mentioned in another one, don't forget to check, you know, keep your eyes open at garage sales and yard sales and things, because that's just a fantastic place to pick up stuff that you can improve upon. Yeah. See, I'm not letting this dry enough. One thing I noticed that they were saying was, you know, okay, now I got to let this spot dry, and I'll go over here and do it while I'm letting this one dry. All right. Another thing, I know, I can't even think who it was now. I wish I could. I'm really sorry, because I would give her credit for making me think of this, because I didn't even think of it. She didn't like to waste her alcohol, which, I mean, it is. Your alcohol is eventually going to get tinted, and you're going to have, you know, you're going to have to change it out, unless you want to end up with too much mix of colors on here. So rather than waste the alcohol, she kept a little bottle handy to just pour her tinted alcohol into, so that she could use it on other things that it just really didn't matter if the alcohol was tinted. So I thought, well, that was just a fantastic idea. But this is why I'm cleaning my brush pretty good here, because I don't want to tint my alcohol too soon. All right, this is the Cobalt now. Oop, come back here, you little turkey. See, I'll let it run for so much, but then I'm going to put a stop to it. I don't want it to, you know, encircle the entire thing. I'm sorry, I hope I'm not. I know y'all are probably having a hard time seeing what I'm doing, because I just sort of need to have it facing me to see what I'm doing. I haven't yet figured out a way to get my tripod set up behind me to where you all can like be sort of over my shoulder. And that way it might, I don't know, might give you all a better view of what I'm doing a lot of times. So, I don't know. I just can't figure out a way to do it, because if I get it close enough to me, I'm bumping into it all the time. I just need a new tripod, I think, that will go different ways a little bit better. Once again, I move out of the shot as I'm talking about it. So you can see as you're spreading it, you know, it getting lighter and lighter as you go down. But as long as you don't go back over that part at the top, your little edge, do it this way, then it'll leave you that nice little line up there, and you'll start getting these variations in your color as you come down too. So you can see it starts forming its own little lines, and then you've got this sort of color variation. I obviously didn't get high enough up there, so I left too much of a variation there. So I'm going to go back over that. But you don't want the whole thing to end up just really flat looking, I guess is the term that people use. You want it to have some depth and some variation. You don't want, see, like this is right now one big spot that's very, I don't know, it's too much exactly the same. Trying to dry that a little. So I would like for that to have a little more variation, but I may wait until I get some of the purple color put on, the vineyard that I'm going to use, and just when I have a little on my brush, I may dab a little of that down in there. I'll stick my fingers in it and mess it all up. And doing this is definitely one of those things where a little is going to go a very long way. Unless you just want some really dark colors, then, I mean, just a drop or two of ink is just really all you're going to need. So, any of you all that have your own channels that have your setup to where people can actually see what you're doing, let me know what you do, where you've got your tripod or what kind of tripod you're using, because something's got to give here with mine. It's really aggravating. I do need to figure out a much better way to get my setup done here. And I know that there are a few of you that have your own art channels going, because I watch a few of you. which is always fun. I love to watch channels for people that I sort of, feel like I know a little bit. Anyway, even if we haven't met in person, it's always fun to watch videos that some of people who watch my channel some have done. I didn't really want to mess that line up, but I may, because I do need to have that blended a little bit through there. So that may kind of mess that up. I see another bristle coming loose. Oh, my aggravation made me blow too hard. It looks like I don't know what it looks like. I don't know, kind of amoeba or something. Something with a lot of little legs. All right, so I think, you all kind of see where I'm gonna leave my little legs there for, well, no, I better get these. You kind of see where I'm going. Anyway, you kind of get the gist of what I'm doing. So I think that I am just going to speed this up so that you won't be watching me dab alcohol on this thing for the next 2 hours. And if something arises that I feel like I need to tell you, then I'll slow it down and tell you. Or I'll do a voiceover for it or something anyway and let you know. So, all right, I will rejoin you here in just a little bit after I get done dabbing on my vase plenty. Okay, I did decide to go ahead and do the voiceover on this part, partly because I just couldn't find any music that I really wanted to put on there this time. But also just to give you some thoughts as I went along here. I did speed this up quite a bit because it took me longer than I thought it would to get this done. And it really was so repetitive that I didn't really think anybody wanted to sit and watch that on and on with me dabbing the alcohol on there with a brush. One thing that I think I actually mentioned this at the end is that I did learn that Rustoleum paint that I coated this with, it does stain. So keep that in mind if you decide to use that as a base coat. I don't know if the matte versions would stain or not, but this semi-gloss that I used, it did stain with these darker colors anyway. It didn't stain everywhere. It wasn't as bad as Yupo, but there were a couple of spots where I put the ink down when I was first spreading it out and it was fairly heavy, like especially with the purple color, the vineyard, that I did end up with sort of a line in it where I had initially spread out the ink a little bit. So keep that in mind if you're doing something like this. The look that I was going for, this is something that I really do need a little more practice on to really get that look that I was going for. I didn't do a good enough job of spreading out the colors, keeping them light enough, because I did want more of that wash look. But these were very dark, intense colors that I picked for this. Probably would have done a little bit better had I picked some that were a little bit lighter. So I started using more alcohol as I went through. Now, I had to kind of watch closer for runs, but it really did seem to help the look of it for me anyway, using more alcohol than what I was initially. And as the alcohol dries, you'll see I'm doing kind of large sections at a time with it. And as it dries, it creates its own little patterns and kind of little lines and edges and things in there that looked really good. And you'll see as I get along through here, it didn't end up looking anything like what I wanted it to, because I did kind of mess it up at one point. So we'll get there though. But you'll see as how I'm doing the blending, especially tried to use a decent amount of alcohol where the colors met, and then let that part sort of just run together and create a whole new shade right there in between the colors. Excuse me, a little bit hoarse this morning. Allergy season for me. Stuffy nose, sneezing, and scratchy throat. But hey, it's springtime, so I'll take it. That means it's spring. As I was going along and doing this, I kept thinking of all these things I need to make sure that I wanted to mention to you all as I was doing it. And now that I'm, getting a chance to do the voiceover, I can't remember. That's one of the drawbacks to not going ahead and just doing it full length and you all listening to whatever I've got going on at the time. So, but anyway, I found out that, using the flat side of the brush just definitely works a whole lot better. The using the end of the brush did not work good for me. I don't know exactly why, but it seemed to work much better for me using that flat side of the brush rather than the end. So you'll see I did decide to put some Pinata brass on it, and that was where I kind of made my mistake. Well, I really wanted the brass on it, but I kind of lost control of the brass. You'll see it was just running all over the place. It's, just is not as thick as the regular colored inks are. And so it did kind of go wild in there on occasion. So what I ended up doing, just partly out of sheer frustration, was just letting it kind of swirl all the way around as it ran. So instead of this very, organic, I'm trying to think of a word that doesn't sound bad, blobs of color. That's not the word I want, but I really ended up with lines going across, because that's what I ended up doing, because I didn't want to totally mess up the whole thing by trying to fix the runs that I already had. Sorry, when that's going out of screenshot there, that's just me turning the vase to let the brass run around the side of it. Now, when I was doing the brass, I didn't use much alcohol with it. The only time I put some alcohol on my brush was if I needed to dampen the brass a little bit to get it to continue to move. Then I would sort of, try to drop a little alcohol on it to get it to roll the rest of the way around the vase. So anyway, it didn't end up what I wanted it to, but yeah, I was really happy with it. I think it came out really pretty, and I definitely, recommend that you all find some cheap items and play around with your inks like this, because it really is a lot of fun. It's very relaxing to do things like this. that are different than the paintings, just to see what you can come up with. So, all right, well, I am just about back, so I'll see you in a sec. All right, well, here we go. It's not actually what I had wanted. It's not what I started out to do, but I'm not unhappy with it. I mean, I think it's very pretty. Had I not put the brass on it, it would have been more like what I had wanted to start with. But once I put the brass on and I kind of lost control of it a little bit, I just sort of had to go and cover all kinds of stuff. And here's another thing that I have learned now. The Rustoleum stains. This does anyway. It was the Rustoleum Painter's Touch 2x Ultra Cover Paint Plus Primer is what I just happen to have here, so that's what I used on this. And it does stain some, because you can see where I was trying to move it, and it didn't. So, but anyway, that's that, and I hope you all enjoyed it, and I'll be back again soon with something else. Love you all. Bye.